This is augforums.com Real Talk, an unfiltered, independent perspective on Acumatica Cloud ERP. My name is Tim Rodman, and I want to mention three things in this pre-recorded intro before we get started. First, thank you to our sponsors. Our first sponsor is Paya. Paya offers Acumatica users a suite of industry-leading payment orchestration tools. Far beyond native Acumatica payments, Paya enables EMV NFC terminals for countersale. They offer a frictionless customer portal through their click-to-pay solution, and they support most e-commerce platforms and point-of-sale solutions used with Acumatica, such as One Retail and AcuPOS. And best of all, omni-channel reconciliation is available for all their solutions. Our second sponsor is DataSelf. DataSelf Analytics is a revolutionary reporting solution that enables organizations to make the most informed decisions faster and easier than ever. It uniquely simplifies business intelligence, empowers anyone to build and access dashboards, and delivers critical business insight when and where you need it. Our third sponsor is Aldrich Web Solutions. Are you a distributor using Acumatica, yet struggling with an e-commerce fit? US-based Aldrich Web Solutions out of Marion, Illinois, has 2 decades of experience helping distributors find success online. Our team of experts built the integration, creating websites that work effortlessly with Acumatica. With our reputation for swift customer service and meticulous attention to detail, we are the perfect fit for distributors needing online solutions. Please take a minute to support this podcast by clicking each one of the sponsor banners located at augforums.com/sponsors. Our sponsors track clicks, and every click helps to support this podcast. The second thing I'd like to mention is that I'm always looking for victims. I mean guests. If you use Acumatica in any capacity, no matter how small, I'd love to talk with you. Check out augforums.com/podcast and click the link near the top of the page to learn more about being a guest on the podcast. Third and finally, I'd love to see you listed on my Rolodex. Check out augforums.com/Rolodex to find out who else is using Acumatica and read the instructions at the top to see how you can add yourself to the list. All right, that's it for the pre-recorded intro. Let's get started. Hey everyone, we're live, although not really live. More on that in a second. I've got Andrew Pistorius here. Andrew, thanks for taking the time to jump on and show us some cool stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So we're going to show some cool stuff that he's done in Acumatica. I didn't quite have my act together, so we're not actually doing this live. We're recording it, but then I'm going to broadcast it as if it's live, so just being transparent about that. But we're getting it done, getting something recorded that might not otherwise get out there. And before I let you share your screen, Andrew, I did wanted to give a shout out to Strategies Group, and I'll share my screen here. I think, here it comes. All right, so I want to give a shout out to Daniel Collins, Selena, the team at Strategies Group for, they've been doing this ERP building bites. I don't know if podcast, broadcast, I don't know, something where they're putting stuff out there, and you showed up in one of their videos here. There you are in the middle. And you were talking about something cool that you've done in Acumatica, and I'm like, oh, I would love to see more details around that. So thanks to Strategies Group for putting that info out there. And I should stop sharing my screen now. Oh, I didn't even share my screen, did I? Hold on a sec. I'll show there it is.
There it is.
So I'll put a link to this somewhere. Well, no, we'll just acknowledge that ERP. Here's what their little logo looks like. ERP Building Bites. Post from Strategies Group was about a month ago, and They were highlighting something cool. It's just a conversation that you all were doing.
Yeah.
I think it was only about 6 minutes long. So I thought we could take a little time to dive in a little deeper, and you could show us. I think it was a time clock solution, right, that you built there.
That's right. Yeah.
So
So,
let's
you want me to kind of
set the
drive into
stage. Go ahead.
So the premise for it is we're a company that we have a construction business, we have a manufacturing business, and our manufacturing business, we went to Acumatica in April of 2022, and had kind of gone. The construction business was Excel and QuickBooks, and then the manufacturing business was a kind of legacy on-prem ERP kind of job shop that didn't do financials, and then also QuickBooks. And so we've moved the construction company all the way over to Acumatica and have been working to get the manufacturing business over there. And so one of the things that we found is that native to Acumatica, there was no kind of clock in, clock out system. And there, I know there's lots of IS integrations that you can do. I'm always just a little bit more worried about integrations because usually they're a more packaged product, and so it means they do it a certain way. And to this point, we have done a lot of things in Acumatica. We don't build a ton of customizations, but we do kind of cater the system to how we use it specifically pretty significantly. And so I have done enough kind of tinkering in Acumatica to find some kind of flexible spots in the system. And the one that I'll kind of always end up going to is project issues. So what we basically needed our guys to be able to do on the manufacturing floor is to be able to select a project task, because we're doing our manufacturing using the construction module. So we're just creating a construction project, and that's how we're going to do our manufacturing. Because
okay, so you say manufacturing, but it's not the Acumatica manufacturing.
Correct.
Edition.
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason for that is that we aren't a widget manufacturer. Like, we don't build 10,000 of something, and we don't even the stuff that we build. It's not always homogeneous. So, we build drag conveyors and bucket elevators and towers and catwalks and things like that. Well, there's almost always some level of custom to it. And so as we went through kind of the selection process on ERPs, there's just a lot of the complexity that sort of kind of custom build to order stuff created inside of a system was complexity that we didn't want to deal with. Or we wanted to deal with it kind of more manually, because that's what we're used to. And so in that way, we're kind of, we manufacture a lot more like a construction company. And so, because that's our roots. And so, anyway, so that's what we're doing is we're building manufacturing jobs inside of the construction projects module. And gotcha. So because of that, what we're doing is we wanted a time clock where a guy could basically clock in and clock out of a project task, because that we essentially equivocate that to a cost budget item, a labor cost budget item. And then the other kind of requirement for it is that I didn't want guys to have to actually log in and log out of Acumatica, because obviously we want to maintain two-factor authentication. That's important for us. And so we had to figure out a way to do it in a way that could be more like pin-based once you get to kind of the time clock. Because again, what we're trying to do is we have this legacy ERP, and it's not all bad, but it lacks a lot of what Acumatica can do. But there's some functionality that the guys are just used to after using it for 6 years. And so we're trying to say, okay, well, how can we keep it, at least as translatable as possible, so they feel like they're not having to take some giant step forward in knowledge of a system. So it can be a pretty comfortable step sideways. And so that's why we wanted to kind of maintain that sort of like employee time pin sort of thing. And so
Tell me what you mean by pin. What do you mean by pin?
So let's say you and I work together on the floor, right? And there's a computer over there that is logged into Acumatica under a generic user that has access to just the time clock. So what I don't want to do is I don't want to make Tim go over there and log in and enter his password and get a two-factor code and then type it in and then clock in and then hit log out and then have Andrew go do the same thing, because it just takes too long. And I mean, we have times when guys will clock in or clock out, multiple times a day. They clock out for lunch, right? So you think about the number of things that have to get done for that to work, and then you're waiting for the two-factor authentication, either notification on their phone or email. Well, not all of them have company emails. And then also, like, we work in a steel shop. Well, a lot of guys don't like to carry their phone in a steel shop. And so there's just a lot like that sort of complexity. So that's why we wanted to basically say, hey, we're going to give you a 4-digit PIN when you're hired, and then that will be the thing you go to the kiosk and you type in, and then you'll be able to do the things you need to do in the time clock.
Gotcha. Okay.
So,
I love it. Yeah. Shop floor. I don't want to be logging in and logging out. I mean,
no.
Yeah. Pin sounds like a great idea.
Yep.
All right.
So, so you want me to share my screen and we can kind of
Let's
through it.
let's look at it. And I gotta ask you too, while you're sharing it, you said you still have the legacy manufacturing thing around. Are you like in process of implementing this, or is this live and people are using it?
So the answer is yes. We are using it, but we haven't done a big bang implementation because we do in these individual jobs. We can kind of say, hey, this one right now, this one's kind of smaller. And so we're going to have the guys use Acumatica for this one. We use Acumatica fully for all of our financials already for the project, for both companies fully, and have for ever since we implemented. But we've just gone a little bit slower on some of the operational stuff because it affects 30 people, and some of it is like, we want to make sure that the guys understand how to issue inventory. We want to make sure that the reports that come through are easy, readable, understandable, all that sort of stuff. So.
Okay, so you're rolling it in, but it is being used in the real world.
It is being used. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So what I pulled up real quick is just
one of our. Would you be able to zoom in? Do like a browser zoom to get us to like
absolutely.
130 or something like that. Yeah, that's looking
better?
Pretty good.
So real quick, I just want to pull up. So the timekeeping pin is simply an attribute we've assigned to a person. Okay. Nothing like, so it's a new attribute assigned it to an employee record. That's all there is to it. And then as far as kind of look and feel, so what we did is we created a new, I can't remember, like a workspace here.
Oh, full-blown official looking thing here, MMF.
Yeah, which I learned how to do that is super cool. So MMF is Mid-States Material Handling and Fabrication.
Okay.
Everybody calls it MMF. But I learned how to do that. I don't remember how, but it's just really helpful, right? Especially when you are kind of shoehorning something into a system like we are, because we're kind of using different pieces of the system. It helps people like feel comfortable that, yes, I'm in the right spot, as opposed to saying, oh yeah, go to construction and then go to projects and then click on that filter. Like you feel like you're in the wrong spot. And especially if people just aren't used to if they're not used to using Acumatica and you log in, there's a lot of stuff. So anyway, so you come here and then you've got this thing that's called MMF Timeclock. And so when you get here, it shows up and it's empty, okay? And the reason it's empty is because it won't show anything until you enter your timekeeping pin, okay? And so I'm gonna enter in Mark's timekeeping pin and hit tab. And so now what it does is it's doing a join on the GI to go pull his pin and then also pull every active task, every active, what we call them work centers, but every active task and every active job that they have. Can
you show us just step through the tabs on the GI? I'm curious.
Yeah, so this is just showing all of this. So this is showing basically every routing. And I should say it's showing, all of the routings. What we have is we have an overhead project where the job number is MMF, right? So that's where we have, if guys are clocking into meetings or light duty or whatever. So maintenance of equipment. But by default, we bring it in only to active production routings because
they're in the shop. Yeah,
and there could be 20 non-billable codes. Eventually there's going to be a whole bunch more of these.
But can you hit customization, edit generic inquiry real quick? And
sure. Yep.
At least step through the tabs. We don't have to go into
I'm sorry, of the GI, my bad, yeah.
So we got data sources. Are you in 2024 R1?
I am 24 R1. Yep.
Okay. So you got some joins in there.
Yes, we have a lot of joins. And so I will say, like I told you before, this wasn't all me. This definitely has some I have some help from the guys at Strategies Group between Daniel and Drew.
Hit relations there. We don't have to go in the gory deal. So you got a good amount going on here.
Yep.
Okay. All right. That's good enough. I just wanted to get a quick little, your parameters there. Okay.
Yep. Just the parameters, just being the timekeeping pin. But so then literally what they'll do is, and what we're going to do is we'll have a touch screen eventually monitor out on the shop floor just because it'll be simpler. So then all you do is go click that and then click your clock into task button. Okay, and so now you're clocked in. So
Oh,
then
so one sec. So what I
Yeah.
think you did there is I think you did a business event that was triggered by action.
Yes.
All right, we'll look at that later. I just want to make
Yep.
sure. Okay.
So
All
yeah,
right.
and so what that action does is it creates a project issue
Gotcha.
and
Gotcha.
records the
Okay.
clock in it. So the other thing, Tim, that I'll throw out here that I think is unique is we added this little we added a side panel to this that pulls up a report that we built in Report Designer that filters down depending on where you're at and gives you instructions.
Filters down depending on where you're at. You just mean on what screen you're at.
Yeah. So in the GI, yeah. Let me go to the GI navigation.
Oh, interesting. So you've got one help report that filters down by the screen that you're on.
With a whole bunch of sections.
Interesting. Okay.
And the reason we did that is like, yes, there's a wiki and you can edit the wiki and all that sort of stuff, but the problem is it takes you away from the screen. So right here we have this report.
So you
we
can't
designed.
do the wiki as a side panel. You have to.
I don't know that. I haven't messed with the wiki enough. I've used
okay.
Report Designer a ton, and so
Yeah, you're familiar with that. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And so what we did is we have a section in there called MMF Timeclock. And so
Gotcha.
right here, we're just doing a navigation of a side panel that says MMF Timeclock. And so that's kind of our plan throughout to build on that over time. Because part of it is it's not just like showing how the system works, but showing how we specifically use the system. And I think that's one of the things that can be really intimidating.
Oh, love it. Yeah, whether you do it as report designer or wiki, however you do it, just taking the time to write up instructions in a language that you understand is something that most people don't take the time to do it. But if you do it, it's huge ROI. Yeah, good. Well done.
Well, and especially for us, the other thing is for us to, our thing is we want to make it as visual as possible. Right. So we have qualitative write-up, but we also want to show you the visual write-ups. And tell them what to do. So anyway,
a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Yes.
Why we're doing the video.
That's right. So anyway, so now Mark is clocked in, and so what we did then is, if you refresh the GI, someone else can show up. They can clock in as well. But then when he's done, he comes back up to the time clock and he says, "Okay, 9727. Okay, well I can see where I'm clocked in because it's highlighted in green."
Oh.
And the reason I know that is because there's another join happening in the background to basically say to go and look at the open time clock ID. So it's matching up the open time clock. There you go, that one there. So it's doing this match, and so by virtue of that matching, it highlights it in green.
Can you show me the issue that got created when you clocked in before you clock out here?
Yes, sir. And we'll get to this because this is how our production manager actually goes through. And so right here, here's the issue itself. And I can almost guarantee you we have more project issues than any other. Oh, it opened in a new window, didn't it? Just a second.
Yeah, you're using what's available to you. You're a low-code, no-code guru.
Just nerdy enough is what I like to say. Okay, so here's the issue itself.
Oh, I think you were only sharing that one tab. Let me see.
Yeah, I just switched.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah, go ahead.
So here's the issue itself. So it has time clock entry, has the employee's name on it. We have a special class ID for it. Here's all the stuff we clocked into.
So you hijacked the priority field to say in.
Actually, yeah, and actually that I don't even know if we use that, but yes.
Okay.
And then here in the attributes is where you store the timekeeping pin, you store the clock in time, and then.
Okay. Can you show me the details? This looks the details tab. Yeah.
There's nothing in
it. So this I was thinking when you said project issue, I was thinking material issue in manufacturing.
No.
I'm actually not familiar with this screen. This looks more like a task to me.
Well, it's project management. So what it's built for is to have project issues. You convert them to RFIs or to change requests and stuff like that. But it's really malleable because you can put attributes to them by class.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Keep going. Sorry.
So anyway, so that's kind of what that looks like. So now I'm going to go present again. Sorry, it keeps creating new windows on me. Let's do hopefully now you can see the whole window. Yes. So, so anyway, so then there's a couple different things he can do. So one, he could click on this and just say clock out, but also he can say, actually, I need to clock into this now. And so when you do that, what it's going to do is it's going to do both. So now if we go back to our time clock details,
Clever.
it's going to, and right, so it's going to clock him out of the plasma. So you can see here, he was clocked into that for 5 minutes. And now, and at the exact same time, same second, he clocked into the laser.
So you don't allow your employees to work on two things at once?
Our current ERP does have a split routings sort of.
No, I mean,
thing.
I'm kind of being sarcastic. Like,
No,
you
the thing
can't,
is, we have guys
right?
that run machinery that's automated, and so there are times we actually need that feature. We haven't quite figured that out.
Oh, okay. So you haven't figured that out yet. Okay, but right now the assumption is one thing at a time. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So anyway, so now you come back here and you refresh it again, and then let's just say he's going to clock out for the day. So he's clocked out. And so once he has done that, right, he's done for the day. So this MMF time clock details is what our production manager uses. And then
one sec.
Sorry.
I'm curious, if you scroll to the far right again, are you able to clock in on something else again?
Not from heat. This isn't the time clock.
I don't want to clutter you up too much.
You're fine.
Go back to the time clock.
You want me to clock in again?
Yeah.
Okay, give me a second.
I'm just going to give you more work to undo after this.
All good. It's not hard. It's okay. Okay, you want me to clock into something else?
Yeah. Get that green thing to show up again.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So then if we scroll to the right, I think you said the key field was that related open time clock ID. Can we go back into the generic inquiry?
Yeah, I'll be honest. This wasn't me. So I'm not exactly sure how he did this.
That's okay. Let's see if we can figure it out in
Get Daniel
2 minutes.
On the horn and he'll tell us.
Let's go to your results grid tab.
Yeah. Yep.
And let's find that related.
I'm gonna blow it out real quick so I can see.
See if you can zoom in.
Related open time clock ID. So it's related project issue.
See if you can zoom in a little bit on your browser.
Here, I just need to shrink it back down. There you go.
Okay, so it's
this one here. So it's related project issue.
Yeah. Then let's find it there. Related project issue. So you went from task, and maybe just show us those joins there. And maybe just expand that parent field and then shrink it up so we could see all the fields in that join.
Yeah.
If you're able to. You might be able to collapse it on the top with the little up arrow. Give you a little more space vertically.
There we go.
Oh, you got a bunch in there. Okay. So yeah, it's using that class, it looks like, but like you said, it's not using that in and out because you're using the attributes themselves. Okay. Yeah, we got it captured, right? We don't have to understand exactly how it works, but we can see what's going on. Okay, cool. Thank you.
So let me go back. I'll clock out.
And then the green would just, one more thing. Sorry. Can we see the green conditional formatting? What's making it green?
Yeah,
that would be what results grid, and then there'd be a style.
The format row on the one.
Up on the top there. Yeah, right up there. There you go. So good. So we captured it, and then someone could dissect this later. All right, cool. Thank you.
Yep. So then we clock out. And so it's creating a new project issue for each one. So that and we use project issues for a lot of other stuff too.
And project issues have any GL impact or nothing at this point?
No, it is related to projects. It's inside the project management module.
Okay.
So if you don't have project management, you wouldn't have them. And I with a lot of people I've talked to, is they don't have project management. But yeah, we found it to be very useful. Not maybe for its native uses, but for lots of other things.
Love it.
So then the other thing I wanted to show then is we have this kind of separate GI that is for our production manager, and it's effectively his way to go review the time from the day before and push it to payroll. It's not really to payroll, but that's from his perspective, that's what it is. And so
this is also a custom GI.
Just a GI. So it's showing everything that's unapproved. And so he can go, and the other thing is it also will show him if anyone is currently clocked in, right? So if he is looking at the end of the day and he say, hey, why is that guy still clocked in? Okay, we need to clock him out.
Love it.
But so what he does is he'll come in here and review this, and what he's looking at is the project, the job number, the work center, the person, and the the number of hours.
Okay.
And so he's going to review that, and once he says that it's good, then he's going to go checkbox, and he's going to click approve and push to payroll. And there again, what are we doing? We're doing an import scenario based on a business event.
So would you be able to filter your business event setup and show us both of those business events? So the first one, we could skip the clock out. Let's just look at the clock in.
Yep.
And show that, and then let's look at the business event for the time clock details.
I will say this might get a little messy because
messy is good.
Well, we've tinkered with it a whole bunch, and so I've got to remember which one we're actually using. I think this is it. Okay.
Well, what I think you can do is just filter on the generic inquiry screen ID. Like if you, just pull that screen ID up and then filter your business event list by that.
Good call.
You should only have one active one, right? Oh, interesting.
Well, so yeah, we kind of. There's 4 actions in there. We only show 2.
Okay. So one clock. It makes it clear to you though. This is the one.
Yep,
okay.
Yep. Here's your clock in.
So there's our trigger by action. We've got an action name of clock into task, and you've got 2 import scenarios. One because you might have to clock out of the previous one to clock into the other one. Yeah, maybe show us both those import scenarios.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So the clock in is let me collapse that. The clock in is relatively simple, right? Because you're basically what you're doing is you're creating a project task, or you're creating a project issue. That's it.
And so every time you clock in, you're creating a new one. You're never having to go back and update an existing one. Okay.
You do have not when you clock in. No.
Oh, when you clock in. Yeah, it's the clock out. Okay.
Yep. So this one's pretty simple, right? Like at least I would say if you've built import scenarios before, it's pretty simple.
So is there anything in source restrictions or target restrictions? Probably not on this.
Nope, not on this one.
Maybe on the next one. All right. So now let's look at the next one. Okay.
Yep. So then here, on the import scenario itself is relatively simple because all you're doing is clocking out and action closing, right? Right. You're entering the current time and the clock out time, and you're closing out.
Okay.
And then the source restrictions.
Oh, neither one of those. Oh, there we go.
No, we must do it in the business. I wonder if because it probably would just fail because there wouldn't be one to clock out of.
Maybe it has something to do with why you have 4 and you're only showing 2. I wonder.
Well, no, because we actually have 4 because we've got we have a clock in and then we have a clock out, and then we also have we haven't started using these yet, but we want to give the guys the opportunity to also say, hey, that task is completed. So we just we didn't put those up as buttons because it's less common. So.
Well, I love that we've captured it, and someone could dig through the details.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then what about the other one? So on the time clock details where you're pushing it to payroll.
Oh yeah,
we could take a look at that. You could do the same thing. Yeah, screen ID there.
Clocked activity. So what this is doing is this is pushing it into activities. So we're going to push them into employee time activities.
Employee time. Okay. This now is more what people are used to when they're tracking time. Yeah.
Yes, but and so effectively what we're doing, right, is we're creating a time clock entry that is like a time card entry. And then instead of a production manager or production supervisor typing in everybody's hours every day, he's basically reviewing it and transferring it from the time clock that we built.
Yeah, if you scroll down just so we can see all the fields there. Okay, perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, so essentially you're skipping the time card step of it that would normally be done in Acumatica on that screen and approved on that screen. You've created a better workflow.
And have to have someone manually enter and manage.
Yes. And then you're skipping that step and going just right to approved time entries that does its normal Acumatica thing into whatever it does from there.
Yeah, it gets released, it goes into payroll. We use, it gets converted does straight time and overtime, and then we run our payroll through it.
Love it. Love it. So you were able to use what I would call low code, no code tools in Acumatica to design a custom solution that works really well for your business and allows people to use it on the shop floor. I love this. This is awesome. I love that it's buttons too. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
you have to key in the 4-digit code, but it's a 4-digit pin. I mean,
yes. Other than that, you just tap in.
but we're used to like keying in 4-digit pins for things, right?
Yep.
I really like that. And then if go back to the original time clock, you don't have to actually create another piece of work that you have to do later. But remind me, when you hit the clock into task button, you don't have to actually do it. Did it wipe out the timekeeping pin so it's ready for the next person?
It doesn't. What we have told people is, I think what we've told them is to hit the refresh button up here.
Okay.
Let me see what we put in our file. I can't remember.
So it's key in a pin, click clock in, and then refresh. So it wipes out the timekeeping pin.
Yeah, right here. It says once you're clocked in, it will say the operation is completed on the screen. After you see that, refresh the browser and delete your 4-digit PIN from the screen, or you can just close the browser window.
So you want to try a little idea here? Can we do one more click in?
Sure.
This might improve it a tiny bit. I'm not looking to make it better. It's always awesome.
You're fine.
But I'm
You're
already awesome. Just curious. So I'm going to create more work for you. If we click in on one or clock in on one, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry about all these transactions you're going to have to undo. So if you hit refresh, does it keep the timekeeping pin filled out?
It does.
It does. So what if you clock in?
Null?
No. Clock in on something else now, just so we get the same thing going on. Now, instead of hitting refresh, hit the cancel icon. Yeah. Does that wipe it out? Oh, it doesn't. Interesting.
What if could I make it? Could I make the default null? Now we're just workshopping here.
We're just geeking out. I love this. This is great.
What if I do this?
Let's find out. Yeah. Normally that cancel will clear it out. Huh.
I can't believe I didn't think about this before. All right, so the funny thing is Mark he's our manufacturing vice president. So he's gonna be like, what are you doing? Okay, so now if we go
try that cancel one.
Yeah, there it is.
We just saved a step. All right.
Boom, love it.
Cool.
All right, let's go.
I love this. I've heard this a lot. People want a better clock in, clock out. What's really cool about this is, in theory, this would work in the Acumatica manufacturing module as well.
Yeah, because it's just employee time activities.
Like that project task screen looks a lot like just regular CRM activities, which everyone has access to, right? And so even if you don't have the project management module, in theory, you could leverage the regular CRM activity screen and then take it wherever you need it. You could take it to the regular time entry for a project situation, or you could take it to the labor screen for Acumatica Manufacturing Edition. In theory, I love the flexibility of that approach.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, the project management thing for the project management module for us has been probably the best ROI inside of Acumatica, just because we also use it for custom forms. And so, like I said, I mean, you saw how many we've been on the system for 2.5 years, and there's 19,000 project issues in there. Well, we don't actually have 19,000 project issues. It's because we use them there's 25 forms that come through to our safety manager every day. And, so that's where our guys are doing cut forms and stuff like that, inspection forms of cranes, lift plans, things like that.
Do you have a few more minutes to show an inspection form?
Yeah,
I don't really know what you mean there. We agreed ahead of time that someone's going to arrive with a beer at some point, and when that happens, we end this broadcast.
I mean, we don't even have to, as long as it's okay if I drink a beer on screen,
Well, that's okay. Yeah, I think it's okay.
So this is just our form response GI. It's nothing fancy. These are mine.
So, step me back. What you mean by a form? So, like, you're in construction, so you got all this stuff that you have to fill out to show compliance or whatever. Is that what you mean?
So let me I'll just open one and show it to you. So
I haven't done anything with the project management module. I'm totally green here. Yeah, help me out.
So this is another project issue. So here is print. Like, I'm going to print you the form, and then I'll explain why.
Okay.
I'm printing
Yeah,
it.
let's see the end result, and then we'll back into the how.
Yep. So, and if I back up a little bit to like what was the why behind this? So
Yeah,
we
yeah.
used to do, they're called job safety analysis, like basically a safety analysis of the day, or crane inspections, or so this is an initial crane setup form, right? And
Okay.
so we used to have forms like this either in Microsoft Forms or in Google Forms, depending on when we were talking about this. And the challenge that we had as a business was that the data wasn't like there was no data validation, right? So you couldn't select new projects because we weren't maintaining a list anywhere. It wasn't tied to an ERP. It wasn't tied to QuickBooks.
I see. It was just a text field, and you could miskey in a project number. Okay.
Bingo. And so then because of that, well, then you can't do any analysis to say, well, how many has Tim done? How many has Andrew done?
Right.
How many days last week did we work on that job? And how many forms did I get from that job last week? And you can't do that because the numbers might have been entered wrong, or they might have they might have just, left it blank or whatever. And so that was part of the issue. The analysis wasn't helpful. But then the other side to it was the end result was ugly. Right, so it was like, well, you had the Google results email that would go out back to the person who filled it out, and then they would forward it to people. Well, if you've ever seen the results of a Google form, it's just, I mean, it's fine. It tells you what you need to know, but it doesn't look good. It doesn't look professional. And so,
like before we started recording, you mentioned your simple logo. You're very
like we're protective of our brand.
Of your brand. As you should be. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and we want and we want to be able to put out a professional product because we think that the work we do in the field is a really great product. Well, then we want all things to have that same sort of impact with our customers. And so,
love it. Yeah, your product is not just the physical good; it's the process by which it produces it. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. So this is kind of the end result, and I guess let me find another one. Might be.
That end result was just a report designer report?
Yes, and I can open it, but what we have done is so here's the GSA. So what we've done is every time, so when you hit print on a project issue, it is pulling PJ 991020. That's the report ID, and I know that because I've edited it thousands of times. But we have a different section for each form. Okay, and so then the visibility condition is simply, does this form match the class that was selected? And so we have, 30 or 40 different form types in there, right? So here's a job safety analysis that was filled out.
So it's one report designer report with a bunch of sections that you're suppressing based on a parameter. Yes. If you hit the pencil icon, do you have a parameter there that's getting fed to it?
It's not a parameter. Well, it may be a parameter. It's based on the class.
Okay.
And so what it's doing is it's only surfacing the section that matches that class.
Okay.
And then each class, again, this goes back to the project issues. Each class can have its own set of questions here.
So then, where does the data entry happen? What's it look like for the person on the other end? How they fill this form out? So if you're using your computer,
this is where you would come to do it. However, most of our guys do them on their phone. A lot of guys do them on their phones. And so you basically go in and you create a new project issue, and you select this, the header data up here, and then you scroll down to the bottom and you get to attributes, and then you just answer the questions in attributes.
Also, in theory, something that might be able to be done with CRM activities. This is interesting. This is a very clever use of this. So it's not really the 95% of what you care about in the project management module is this one screen right here.
Oh, yeah, maybe more.
Yeah. Interesting.
And so then the way that we work this from a workflow perspective is the guys go in, they fill all this stuff out. Well, on your phone, you can't print that PDF. So when you close it, we have an automation step that automatically emails you and a certain distribution list when you close it, and then the other thing we haven't implemented this yet, but we've also started to talk about, well, we could have a custom tab or a custom checkbox on the contacts tab of the project to auto distribute to external contacts as well, which we do that already for our daily field reports. So daily field reports is kind of another thing we've kind of jumped into in the past year.
This is cool. What a cool way to capture forms. So you basically replaced Google Forms or whatever the other one was.
Yeah, Microsoft. Yep.
Microsoft Forms with project issues and report designer in Acumatica.
Yeah, and so like both the two things that we went through, right, between the time clock and the forms, the in addition to the fact that it allows us to customize, the experience for our guys, the end result for our customers and for our leaders. In addition to all that, it also allows us to do it without spending anything additional on integrations and things like that, right? Because otherwise it's like,
Right.
well, if you go get a third party form supplier, they're going to charge you either by the form or by the user. And one of the challenges from my perspective is that from like, what does that incentivize? It incentivizes you putting fewer people on the platform. Well,
Right.
I have a lot of guys that they might need to fill out 5 forms a year. But but it's like, we don't really want to add them to the system. I'm going to pay another license fee, like that sort of stuff. And so that's the thing that I like about this is it says, hey, if they're in Acumatica, I'm running them on payroll, I'm paying for them, right? I'm already paying for them to have a license and to be able to use the tools. And so as much as possible, we try to put stuff inside of Acumatica because we're already paying for the technology. And to this point, we've almost always found the flexibility we needed to create something that works and isn't just kind of scraping by. Like most of the stuff that we've gotten to is a pretty good experience overall, yields better data than what we've had in the past, and is a better and allows us to analyze and report in a way that is to this point been acceptable for our leadership team.
Now, project issues, the meat of that was on your attributes tab. When I see attributes, to me, the downside of attributes is they're kind of hidden. You got to click over to that tab, but it's one click, and it sounds like you do such a volume, you get used to that. My question though is on mobile. What does it look like on mobile? And
it's at the bottom. So like all you do is like you just tell guys scroll down to the bottom until you see attributes.
And then when they scroll down to the bottom, are they still? Is their phone? It does expand. So their phone's not still eating up, and I only have this tiny amount to see attributes. The full phone screen is showing all the attributes.
Yep. So it shows up and it's collapsed, and you tap the down arrow and it expands it out.
Okay.
Now I'm interested to see how that looks with the new UI that rolls out.
Yeah.
Because I think it could be worse for us, so I got to figure that out.
But, the new UI I feel like eats up more space than it should. I don't like that. Interesting. Okay. But I really like that. Well done. Thank you for taking the time to show it. That's very cool.
Yeah, it's fun. We're proud of it. It's something that certainly having a team like Strategies to help, because we've kind of, there's been enough times where it's like, I made a change to that safety, the forms, the project issues report, and we broke it. And it's like, so for the first few months when we were doing it, it wasn't that big a deal. Well, now, if it's broken in the morning, my safety manager's in my office, or safety director's in my office, and he's like, hey, I haven't gotten a form all day. And so it's something that's become like business critical for us. And so while it's a little nerve wracking to have built that stuff out of, in a spot it wasn't made for, it's also one of those things where it's like, yeah, we're getting the most out of our investment in the software that we bought.
So I have 2 questions I want to ask you about just a VAR in general. So your VAR Strategies group sounds like they're awesome. And I think they just focus on construction, right? I mean, they're just honed in on that construction area. But I have 2 questions about it. So one is, some people like, I know I need a VAR to buy Acumatica and I need a VAR to go live. But I think where then some people struggle with is how to use the VAR ongoing. And I hear 2 things in your situation. One is something got complicated enough that you just didn't want to deal with it anymore. Yep. And it sounds like the VAR is kind of like an insurance policy a little bit. Like, you don't want to break the thing. You'd rather have the VAR break it. And so it's their headache, right? They're the throat to choke if it breaks. To me, that's a good reason to use a VAR. Like I've done in the past when I worked at a customer, there was a particular thing that I'm like, I could do this on my own. It's not a knowledge thing. It's I just don't want to have to deal with maintaining it. So let's put it on the VAR, right? Yep. It sounds like that's kind of the situation here. And that's a good reason to use them.
Yeah, and I mean, I will honestly say we haven't done that probably as much as we should have, because if I have Daniel or Drew or any of their team build something for me, they do it in the best way possible, right? So they're going to go do it. They're going to build it in our test tenant. They're going to make sure that it works, all that sort of stuff. I'm not always that patient. And so a lot of times I'll just be like, hey, I'm going to add this new form and I'm going to go. And then I realize, oh, I didn't add the visibility conditions. Now every form has that new format in it. That was stupid. So yeah, a lot of times, especially when we're starting to interact with stuff that becomes more kind of almost critical infrastructure for us, I'll at least have them kind of help me walk through, hey, what are the right steps I should take, or have them just push it. But yeah, certainly that is a good use of a VAR. I can't imagine using Acumatica without a VAR.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard anyone say that, but I'm relatively new to the system, and I couldn't imagine doing that. Just knowing, at least for us, we have customized so much stuff just from a reporting standpoint and analysis and all that sort of stuff. A lot of times it's just early in our implementation. A lot of it was just like, hey, teach a man to fish. Like, show me how to do this, so I can do it for myself. So.
Yeah, during the implementation, it's more about knowledge transfer.
Yeah.
But then after that, and that's where I think a lot of people don't make the shift, it's not just about knowledge transfer. And I think that kind of brings up the second piece that I heard there was that strategies group is not just bringing knowledge and the ability to do things and offloading the complicated things, but it's also just bringing a second pair of eyes. And a lot of times, like just having the knowledge is almost, if they have the same level of knowledge that you do, right? You might know Acumatica as well as they do in certain areas at this point, but just having that breath of fresh air to come in and be able to talk things through, and they'd be like, oh, did you try this? Like if you could have cloned yourself and had that conversation with yourself, and maybe you can with ChatGPT now, I don't know. Like you might have come up with that on your own, but just that breath of fresh air, and you're not breathing your own carbon monoxide. That's a value, right? That's something a VAR brings to the table. A lot of people don't take advantage of it, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, the other thing I would say is just so there's been twice now in the past year where we've had a couple folks from strategies come to us because we just needed to do more kind of in-depth brainstorming, and most of it had to do with kind of how we built this stuff for MMF. And yeah, there's a lot of times where if so it was me and Daniel and Drew, and it's like if one of us was sitting in a room by ourselves, we never would have come up with the thing that we came up with. Yeah. But if three of us are in the room, then it's like, okay, well, we can keep making it better. That's been of tremendous value to us. To be able to do that sort of kind of also to do like a little bit of like a software sprint, which we've done a few times now with them. They've just been really great partner, really responsive, very helpful, very knowledgeable. Just been a really, really good partner for us.
I love it. Andrew, thank you again for taking the time to show that, and really appreciate it. You're doing a session at this coming summit, you said?
That's the plan, yeah. Yep. So we'll, myself and Dan, who I work with, will be doing a session on kind of field to office communication and what we've done to try to leverage Acumatica to get the best data from the field to the office, even in remote environments. So, we'll be going through some of this project form stuff, daily field reports, and then a camera integration that we've been using here recently. That's been pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. I'm going to see if I don't have my fancy outro video. So with that, I guess I'll just hit stop, and we'll publish this on a live broadcast at some point. I'll let you know when that is. If you're available, you can jump in and, answer any live chat that happens, but we'll get it out there in some way.
Okay. That sounds great. Thanks, Tim.
All right. Well, that's it for now. We'll catch you on the next episode of augforums.com Real Talk. Thanks for listening, and take care.